Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible for healing, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the most amazing poet, author, healer, badass women of ever time. And they are in a book that we have coming out called 100 Poems and Possibilities for Healing. You guys, why I haven't done a poetry collection before now is it's just... I don't know. I don't know how it didn't happen before now, but it must be meant to be. And I can't wait to share these poets and all of our 31 poets with you all. So I have a bunch of pretty powerful women in the room with me today. Atlantis Wolf is a professional healer and retreat leader who unites mystical teachings and practical tools to empower you to heal chronic pain and clear emotional blockages so you can live a life of ease and pleasure. Dynasta Miss Cayenne Thomas is the visionary for the Inkwell, where they are saving the world one journal and pen at a time. Dr. Pamela J. Pine is the director of Stop the Silence, a department of the Institute on Violence, Abuse, and Trauma, as well as an author, poet, and artist. And Tanya Stokes is the CEO of Compassionate Designs, weaving intention into every design. She also happens to be the designer of this beautiful poetry book cover. So thank you for that. Oh my gosh, we're going to hear from everybody here. Miss Cayenne, we partnered with you for this project, and I've partnered with you for several projects to help the Inkwell. I sit on the board of the Inkwell, you guys, and I'm so grateful that we met however many years ago it was. You invited me to Busboys to feature one night, and that was a life-changing moment for me and my poetry. You know that. I've told you that before. But tell us a little bit about the Inkwell, and then when you're done with that, I want to hear the why behind your poetry.
Sure. Laura, it is always a pleasure connecting with you and all the wonderful work that you're doing. And of course, learning and meeting new authors who have shared interests and passions. The Inkwell is a personal passion of mine. It's a nonprofit that I started on paper at 2019, late 2018. And it is really birthed out of my own experience as a young person, as a kid who experienced a lot of loss early in my life. At the age of 12, by the age of 12, I had a lot of loss. My mother had passed, my father wasn't present, and my brother was removed from my home. So I didn't have an outlet. We didn't do the counseling thing. We didn't tell people our business, and it became my journal pages that became my safe space. And writing creatively, reflectively was a way for me to emote, to get some level of outlet and heal ultimately. And so the Inkwell is an expression of that. If it can do that for me, if it can keep me from suicide and finding myself in the statistics in the, of people who have certain kind of experiences, then maybe it can do it for others. So the Inkwell offers the facilitation of hope, healing, awareness, and self-love through reflective writing, journal campaigns and distribution, and community outreach and education. So I'm excited about being able to take what helped me and possibly help others in that regard. And so with that said, you can kind of get an idea about the why and the passion behind my writing. It has always started off being a place for me to express, to emote, to heal, to process something that I was contending with, that I may not feel comfortable sharing with someone else. And so it became that for me. But over time, I began to start to share maybe something a little personal in my writing, and found that other people had similar feelings or expressions and felt like, man, you captured something that I was feeling. But poetry specifically can be a little cryptic. You can allow it to be cryptic, you can use these different things. And so my chapter in this book kind of talks about removing the fig leaves and getting down to the core of things and exposing your actual soul, if you will, through writing, because that's where the healing takes place. The ink well plays on the word well. You want to get deeper into your well so you can be well. And that's the kind of the gist of my chapter, and also some of the fundamental push for my actual writing overall.
Thank you for that. You guys, depending on when you're listening to this interview, as the book becomes available, it'll be in the new year, January of 24. Just know that when the book is ready and you're making your purchase, you're actually helping me give back to the Inkwell, because a portion of the proceeds in our launch period are going to be giving back. So thank you for those purchases. All right, we're going to hear more from Miss Cayenne, and we're going to hear poetry from everybody today. Ooh, I can't wait for that. Okay. We'll hear more from her in a minute. Dr. Pamela J. Pine, tell me a little bit about the why behind this chapter and your poetry. And unmute, girl, unmute.
every once in a while, from my experience, and perhaps it's speaking to other people as well, one runs into situations or people or both that catalyze an intensity, and bring on an understanding, and show people a different way than one had before. And those moments, from my perspective, from my life history and background, don't come along all that often unless you put yourself in a situation that allows you to see and feel things at a depth that you didn't. And certain things come to mind. I mean, certain circumstances for me come to mind. Working for the first time, really working for the first time overseas in Yemen, and working in a leprosy hospital. I was working with Catholic nuns in a Muslim country, in a leprosy hospital, run by the nuns, and watching those patients, for example, live with and through what they were living with and through was an education beyond anything that I had experienced before. There was a very short anecdote, I'll tell you. A very, very well-known magazine showed up in Yemen. This was the late 70s, showed up in Yemen, and I had expressly told them no pictures, because some of these patients really, I mean, they're pretty disfigured and they don't want pictures taken of them. And so I literally turned my back for a moment to attend to someone in one of the beds and heard the click of a camera behind me. And I turned around and just said, I want the film. You have no right to use that. We're not signing off on it. Get rid of the picture. And they did. But it's those kinds of experiences that stay with us. I mean, this is decades later, after all, many decades later. And then there are the people that you meet occasionally that just bring on a feeling and understanding. And the poems in this book from me are attached to a person. And that person brought forth an understanding that I never had before, brought on a creativity that I had forgotten about decades earlier, and brought on an enormously painful period of time that I had to grow through. So, that's my little statement, I guess, without going into details. It's what we allow into our lives. It's what we bring into our lives. It's what we allow to stay in our lives and not. So I think that's my statement, Laura. You're muted. Muted.
You guys can get me back. I couldn't click fast enough. I love your statement, and I love the inspiration, and you're helping me remember the thing that we hear a lot. You know, our deepest pain can be our biggest opportunities for learning and for all kinds of things. But when it's a person in your life, it can be so fragile and feeling in a way that, I don't know, it feels more intense. And so I truly appreciate you talking about that particular why behind poetry. I have a lot of poetry that is like that. All right, you guys, stay tuned because we're going to get to hear one of Pam's poems in a few minutes. Tanya, tell us a little bit of the why behind your poetry in this chapter.
So I'm chapter 18, and the title is Seasons Change, All is Fair in Love and War. The why behind it, it kind of unfolds the seasons in my life. The season of being in love, the season of loss and betrayal, the season of happiness, personal growth, and confidence. And I went through all of those seasons like all at once. So, which I had some struggles with inside of doubt and insecurities that just went pew, pew, pew all over the place. So my story invites the reader to explore the complexities of love, self-discovery, and the unpredictable twist in life's journey. All the while teaching them about getting back to self-love and forgiveness. So that's the why.
Oh, the whys. I know y'all feeling the feels with all of your all's whys, but the love thing, like I wrote a whole book of love poems, you guys. I couldn't help myself. Like I went in one of those periods of time, they were pouring out, and like Pam was talking about, it was a person. I was learning, I was waking up to different things. But when you're doing all that and it's a love interest, and in my case, a lover, because we can love a lot of different kinds of things and people, can't we?
Yeah.
It was so intense. So how do you, Tanya, have the courage to write about stuff like this? Little follow-up question.
It is my therapy, honey. I have to get it out. I have to put it on paper. And I'm one of those people that will put it on paper and then put it to the side and I won't read it again because it's connected with emotion. Because I don't want to read it again because it's going to bring up emotion. But once I get it out of my system, it feels so liberating to be able to, okay, I had this feeling. I've put it over here. Now I must move on. Now I must pick myself up. Now I must say, let's go. We don't have time for that. It did what it did. It did what it do. Let's keep it moving. But it's definitely therapy for me. Like you, I wrote a whole poetry book about a lover. So it was great. But, that's with the emotions and stuff. So I have to get it out. Yes, definitely have to get it out.
Well, if you don't have to, but if you don't, you guys, guess what happens, right? Like in some moments of my life, it was screaming loudly, like in the form of chest pain. So like this is why I think this book is so important, is that we're offering you the window into these beautiful poets' souls and their stories about using this kind of writing as a therapeutic healing tool. The moments that they were healed in their lives using poetry, reading poetry, speaking poetry, all of these things. And in a minute after we talk to Atlantis, I'll share kind of that why thing for me. But oh my gosh, I love you guys. All right, Atlantis, tell us yours. What's your why, girl?
So my why is actually a little bit of Tanya's and a little bit of Miss Cayenne's. I was brought up in a situation that was also difficult for me. I'm a sensitive gal, and I grew up with a rageaholic in a Catholic household, so there was a lot of limitations not to be who I was inside. And so I was, my mom named me Emily after Emily Dickinson. I'm actually Emily Atlantis Wolf. And so poetry, when I read her poetry, I was just amazed because I feel like she just surgically picked apart every nuance of emotion. It's like somehow she was able to feel everything, and it just lit me up to be able to see someone go so far down to the blade of grass of emotion. And it gave me permission to write. And so I've been writing ever since I was 12 and got my Judy Blume diary. And then I thought, okay, what am I going to do? I wrote like on top of the lines and I filled it back and forward and everything because I was just born a writer because it was secret, it was personal, it was my healing, it was my experience that I wasn't allowed to share, I wasn't allowed to say out loud. There would be consequences if I spoke my emotions and my experience. And, you know, I was a kid, I was in survival mode, like I know I got to get through this. And so for me, instead of putting it to the side, I actually burned it up. So I would write down the craziest stuff that I possibly could because I needed to get it out of my body because I was also feeling the emotion and the tightness and the smallness. And I used to weigh 85 pounds more than I do now because I would just eat my emotions. And, you know, we do what we have to do to get through situations, but I didn't like who I was. And the more that I wrote, the more scared I got because it was like I didn't want to see what was inside of me because it was bad, you know, it was quote bad. And then I thought, well, don't leave the bad stuff inside of you, get it out. So I was in the shamanic world, it's very popular to you write the thing, write the worst of the worst of the worst, just get it out. And then you have a fire ceremony and you burn it up and you transform it, you send it up back up
Yeah.
to spirits, back up to heaven, and then you let it come back to you in a way that can help you. And that's what I did. And so that became my therapy. And now I could talk about anything, which is why I went way over and made this huge poem about the act of self-love as a creator, as a manifesting tool. So it's almost like the next level therapy, all the way to the manifesting what you really want using your body and pleasure as your tool.
I can't help myself with this, but I'm totally plugging it. Atlantis is going to be doing a fire ceremony like this at the Brave Healer Writers Retreat in May, you guys. And we're going to take these pieces of what she's sharing in this shamanic journey of release to the fire. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Atlantis, thank you. You know, the why behind my poetry is often really just a simple nature connection. It's a place where I've learned to come in and connect, and then words move through very fast and furiously. And I've learned to trust that channel. And I was not a person even maybe 5 years ago, or maybe a little more than that, that would have even used the word channel. But when they flowed through for the first time, that made me feel like it was something else happening, wasn't totally me. I got very, very excited about what that was. You know, all my healer friends would talk about channeling this and downloading that. I'm like, and I would be sitting here pouting like, not me. Like, how come I can't do that? And then it happened. And how does it happen? A practice of meditation. I'll use the M word. A practice of stillness. A practice of awareness. And that's what got me to the place where I had my first experience of what I would call an entire poem channeling through me. And now I'm sitting here with you all, able to say, this is part of why I was born. Like, that's pretty exciting. Like, to be able to say, I feel that purpose. And I know all of you in your sharing and these kinds of words that move through you, I know you have similar feelings like that. It's like, oh, I was meant to do this, right? So Pam, what's the most important thing you want people to know about poetry?
That it speaks to you as much as you speak to it, that it comes through you. I mean, there are nights that, and for a long time, more than now, because there's other things going on, but I would wake up almost every night at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there would be a poem, and it just presented itself. And I'd get out my little, notepad on my phone and write it, and it presented itself. It comes from a very deep place. And somebody said the wonderful thing about, I can't remember who this quote is from, but it's a great quote, that poetry comes, to write poetry, you have to both be thinking and dreaming at the same time. I think it's a great quote because it does. It takes your heart and then it takes your brain to put your heart ideas and thoughts and feelings on a piece of paper. And that's where I think poetry, for me, that's where poetry comes from.
I love that answer so much. You kicked that question off so brilliantly. Tanya, how about you? Tell us what's that one most important thing you want people to know about poetry?
Poetry is you, hands down. I love what Pam said in reference to waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and it just flowing up out of you. And then, that happens to me and I go right back to sleep. It's the weirdest thing, but it really is an extension of you. And you never know who needs to hear those words, and to be able to reach someone for them to relate. So poetry is an extension of yourself, definitely.
That feels like a poetic line that I want to rewind to for a moment for the listeners. Poetry is you. So as you fall in love with yourself, what moves through is that love. It's you, it's essence. Like, this is no small potato stuff, y'all. Like, this is good, juicy stuff. Thank you, Tanya. Atlantis, how about you? Tell us that one most important thing you want people to know about poetry.
Anybody can write poetry. You can write poetry. And to me, what poetry is when you have an entire experience and you burn all of it down, and what you're left with is that one tiny glowing white ember. That's the poem of your experience.
I like that. Yes.
Me too. You guys are spitting poetry as we speak right now. Like, these are poetic lines for sure. I love that idea. I had the visual of, like, you're burning everything else down and then there's this thing that survived in the fire, right? And it survives everything. Oh my gosh, how beautiful. Thank you, Atlantis. Okay, Miss Cayenne. It's hard to be last on this one, I think, but I have a feeling you'll have an answer.
Indeed. I was like, well, I think we've said it all. I don't know if I need to respond, but I concur wholeheartedly with everyone. Poetry for me, I think in this moment, I will say is life. And I'm reflecting on a scripture that says, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. I'm also reflecting on, for those who may ascribe to the creative process, when God spoke a word, let there be, and it was. And so while poetry is healing for me and for others, it's wonderful to express and deliver. For me, it also is a responsibility to speak life, right? Not only to myself, but to others. It is a call and commission to change the world through your words. So all of what everyone said and plus that is what I'd say.
Well, that's an important piece, and it's what I love the most about the Brave Healer community is that you're taking responsibility for your words, your energy, your words, how you're showing up, how you're helping, and I think that is a hugely important piece. I'm always so grateful to play in the sandbox with people who take responsibility. And it's not like we don't mess up, because we do. We make mistakes and we have big ass failures. But knowing that we're in the practice of it, and that awareness is what drives us, I think is important. That's the responsibility we're taking, is to be in the practice of it. And then, not be so harsh on ourselves when we make the mistake that we will definitely make. Here's what I want you to know about poetry. It's a little bit of what Atlantis was saying, but there's no rules, guys. Like, pick up this book, because we have the stories of our author poets, we have their beautiful poetry, and then we have a prompt for you. And we're asking you to come into this adventure with us and see what happens, see what thoughts move through, see how you were inspired, and then write as fast as you can without censoring yourself. Move it out. I write to feng shui my soul first. I like to prioritize that flow, that energy shift. And sometimes I surprise myself. I want you to surprise yourself. And so I asked the poets to put a prompt in there so that it could be now about you and your process. Really, really cool prompts in this book. So let's do some poems. Okay. So Tanya, you're going to be first up, and I'm going to talk for a minute so you can get yours ready. We're sharing these poems, and what I know for sure, and again, I'm so grateful for, is that when you put the vibration of your voice to the words and somebody is receiving your spoken word, you are receiving a gift. And Miss Cayenne talked about that. And so I am so excited that we get to do these interviews, and then you all, a book is something and amazing, and now you're all going to get to hear it. So I challenge you all to open your hearts right now with that deep breath and be a really great receiver of the vibrations and the gifts you're about to get. And Tanya, you get to be first. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
Okay, so my poem is called Be Brave. Your life's journey, an epic tale we've seen, a transformation and resilience, the ultimate themes. From marriage's heights to divorces divide, from two-parent bliss to single-parent stride. In this intricate dance between victory and fall, you're a warrior standing tall through it all. Storms you've weathered and hunger you've shared, through broken down cars, you never despaired. 2 jobs you held, as a renter you knew, paying someone's mortgage, yet your spirit stayed true. But your bravery, a guiding star's light, led you to home ownership, soaring to new heights. Driving a car debt-free with you steer, a remarkable journey, so crystal clear. In my eyes, you're just winning the race. You're a champion and inspiration and full of grace. Your children, contributors to your community, they've grown, a testament to the love and dedication you've shown. Now pursuing dreams with an unyielding desire, your determination sets hearts and souls on fire. So remember, my friend, in this tale so grand, be brave. Let courage guide you hand in hand. Don't let others sway your chosen way. You possess everything you need every single day. Your journey's a beacon, a courageous display, inspiring others as they find their own way. Keep being brave for yourself and for all, a testament to strength, standing tall after each fall. Thank you.
Oh, some snaps, some shimmy fingers to you. At the poetry open mics, you guys, you're sitting in the audience, you might hear snaps in the middle of the poem because the audience member resonated with the line so deeply they wanted to gently let the performer know that they loved it, right? Without making too much noise. But so we snap, we clap, we shimmy on Zoom sometimes, whatever works. Tanya, there might have been one little glitchy thing on your audio during the poem. Sorry about that, but we got you coming in strong in the second half, so it was good. It was good. Beautiful, beautiful poem, and of course, I'm a fan of the theme.
Yay.
Yes. All right, Atlantis, you're.
That's why I chose it.
Yes, really? You chose that for me? That you're the best.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm always a fan of Brave. And, so before you go, Atlantis, I want to shout all four of you out because it does take a warrior to share out loud. I asked Tanya a question earlier and I said, how do you do it? How do you get it out of you? How are you that brave or that courageous? And actually, she answered the question differently than how I asked. The question was more about, and then how the heck do you publish it for the world? It is one thing to put it in a journal secret. It's another thing, like Atlantis said, to burn it. Nobody sees it. It doesn't matter, right? And you all are here sharing out loud on a podcast. You're publishing your beautiful words in a book. This is warrior level stuff. And I'm just saying a quick thank you for all of you for saying yes to that, for showing up for it, for taking the risk and feeling your heart as you go. I know that that's no small thing, and I just wanted to acknowledge it. Atlantis, are you ready for yours?
Yes, and I will tell you that as I've gotten older, I see it as an act of rebellion to not only write the words, but to publish them. I feel like that is how I feel strong, and that's how I feel brave and vulnerable, is to publish it and just let it go out into the world and see who resonates with it. So my poem is called Lesson 27. How to Conjure Your King. Ladies, your body is a temple and it's time to pray. You're here in my world, created for you, a place from my past, no windows, no view. Sand floors for your blankets, shaded by stone, walls that reach apex to muffle your moans. Time to light Kaifi now that it's dusk. Pass the blue lotus, wear it like musk. My Egypt and I welcome you, sisters. Are you ready to conjure your magic misters? Start with your body, rest on the floor. Drop your clothes here, you've reached your far shore. Breathe in the darkness, the horror and gore. Call to your Lilith, your crone, and your whore. Breathe out the chains and colonize bindings, unheard rage and low groans, legs unwinding. Breathe in the mother, breathe out the maiden. Close your eyes, rest your hands, let your DNA stray. Call back drumming, chanting, and howling wolves today. And there's 3 pages behind that.
I'm like, more.
Buy the book in January.
Thank you. And thanks for getting juicy in that poem. And thanks. Oh my goodness. So you guys, I've read this, but hearing it, oh yeah. Like hearing it just is another level. Thank you, Atlantis. So awesome. Okay, Miss Cayenne, you're up next. Are you ready?
I am. I believe I am. I've been listening, of course, to all of us, and every time in these settings when you have to read, you're like, okay, something will be said that's I could do this piece, and then something else, oh, I could do that piece. And so I'm just like, what do I do? I'm gonna share a piece that called Hold Me. And this piece I'm gonna share because I'm in my chapter, I talk about uh, removing the covering from yourself, if you will, exposing your soul in that way. And I'm known for my uh, spiritual poems, maybe my social justice poetry, but not so much about my love type of things or more vulnerable kinds of things. I should say it that way. And this piece speaks to intimacy. Hold me, and I shall be held like a clump of clay coddled in the palm of a potter, a handsy lover. Touch me tenderly, spin me intentionally, and love me creatively until I emerge from your hands a woman, every part of my human awakened, no part kept secret, completely clutched in your control. Every freckle, scar, and mold fondled by your fingers, every shameful story told, caressed by your kiss. I offer no resistance. Hold me, and I shall be held. Like the fistful of dirt God used to create the first man. I want to be the particle of brown sand that didn't escape from your fingers, but rather danced in the center of your hand, collapsing into your strength, whisked away by your choreography, twist me, turn me, hold me, and I shall be held. Like a rib cage encapsulates one's vitals, protecting the heart's beat and the lungs' breath and the veins' flow. Like a recital, my entire insides make music serenading the covering that is you. Hold me, and I shall be held. Like a poet holds a pen, tightly gripping the barrel while swirls of ink stain sheets, passion seeps, rhythms, metaphors, and hyperboles all feed the irony of the freedom found in your grasp. Aghast, my breath is held captive in my throat, only to be exhaled after your poem is completed. Your words secreted in the back left ventricle of my heart leaks from my pores and gathers at my door. Hold me, and I shall be held like Lois Lane's hand and Superman's walking on air, all cares made small from the posture above it all, gulping down star flavored oxygen and bathing in the moon made mist. Sounds of exhilaration escape my lips, that superglue of your arms around my hips, holding to this feeling of let go, but I don't want you to let go, so don't let go. Hold me, and I shall be held. Hold me like Volt holds diamonds, like a family's best kept secrets. Hold me like a newborn baby's stare incarcerates a mother's soul and heart for the first time, like an Olympian holds gold. Hold me, and I shall be held. Like a well holds deep waters, like a mine hoards memories. Hold me like rain holds rainbow and pain holds purpose. Just hold me, and I shall be held. Thank you.
There were so many lines hitting me that I couldn't write fast enough. Star flavored oxygen. Oh. And I heard love me creatively, and I don't know why that one stuck for me too. So many beautiful lines. Miss Cayenne, thank you for that gift.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Pam, are you ready to share yours?
I am. This poem has sister and brother poems. One of them is also in the book, but I'm going to start with the one that's called Take Me to the Someplace Else. And I would also encourage you to read the other one because it truly is the bookend. Take Me to the Someplace Else. The brightest stars in that night sky detailed Orion, who regained his sight after being blinded, delivered not only from the dark, but into the full color of days. Take me to that someplace else, beside the boulders that surround the sea, where wildflowers grow around the stones, and golden pollen is released on a breeze, where the presence is as solid as free. Direct my steps to that place where I can sit when I am tired, while I smell the fragrances in the wind, where I can walk beside you with my feet in the sand, where cold water laps leading us toward a fire waiting to be. It's so much work to keep the color at bay, to erase the blues of a Caribbean ocean, to ignore the warmth and wonder of a tropical sun. Why would I try but to punish the gods rather than celebrate starlight from the heavens?
Sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm just wanting more. So I'm just like, please keep going. Please keep going. Like, oh my gosh, these poems, Pam, so beautiful. Um, I think, were you guys feeling transported to that place? Isn't that a gift? What a gift. Thank you all. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have one last question for all of you to wrap up today a little bit, and I direct it for our listeners. And Atlantis, I'm going to start with you for this one. If you had to pick one simple step to practice on a day when everything feels impossible and overwhelm is kicking in, tell us a little bit about what that would be.
I mean, I think that's the only place we can begin. We only break down and then look for help. We don't go for help or therapy or writing when everything's going well. So when everything has fallen apart, know that you still have yourself, and you can still pick up any piece of paper, even if it's the back of the envelope of the bill that you can't pay, and write down how you feel, because it's going to help you, because you're going to get that shit out of your body. And that feeling of overwhelm is normally rolling around inside of you like a little hamster on a wheel. You need to get the hamster out so that you can choose instead of just reacting to what's happening. Everyone has felt the way you are, and you are never alone.
Thank you for that. Write how you feel on the back of the envelope of the bill you can't pay. Like, was that not a poetic line? I love that. Thank you for that. Miss Cayenne, what would it be for you? What's that practice on the day where everything feels impossible?
That's a good question. I think very similar to what Atlantis stated, and I have done exactly that. So writing on pieces of paper as I sit in a pile of things. But I often retreat to the original thing that I found so loving, which is a journal. I have at this point I've written things, I've performed things, but sometimes I forget the very beginnings of things. And so I will return to a place in solitude with a good old fashioned journal that's specific. It's not for show. It is the space where I'm getting the crap out. That's where the crap goes. It's my emotional toilet, for lack of better words. And and that's that moment of undressing, because you have a practice of being on and being present, which is good. Being present is good, but being on in front of people and audiences, everything is fine. Whenever you ask me how am I, I'm fine, I'm well. But this is a space where I strip of all of those things, the masks, the clothes, the the presentation, and I don't have to be anything but what I am in that moment. And so I find that often that may literally be a corner in the space of a journal page, um, to deliver those things. And I would encourage others, while that's just my practice, there's plenty other places you can go. I would encourage people to, again, this is a practice of unveiling, of putting aside the fig leaves. That's a practice. We have so much that we're presenting for. Here's a practice. Take off those things, take off those masks in front of yourself, right? Not even putting them on for yourself. And that's a place of healing, when you can be completely vulnerable and exposed even to yourself.
Thank you, Miss Cayenne. Pam, what's your version of this? What's that practice you want to share with people when it's feeling impossible?
I know what I do. It's less of a choice than it is of an automatic reaction. And that maybe you can make it, or I could make it, or people could make it an automatic reaction. And that is, I tend to start to mentally and soulfully reach out to a different place, uh, a place of freedom, a place of joy. And it's a feeling more than a place, an actual place. Those kinds of feelings sometimes take me to the next step, which is, ooh, maybe I could go there, literally or figuratively, and explore that and experience that. Sometimes in the morning, we're talking about 2 o'clock in the morning before, and now I'm at 5. At 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I wake up with a sense of overwhelming joy. I don't know if it has to do with anything except for my yearning for that. And so I take myself, I try to sit there with that. And sometimes it transports me and allows me to start my day with that. And sometimes it allows me to step in to the kind of places that I've been, or people that I've been with, and directs me and helps me get to those places or those people, again, literally or figuratively. If I'm not being too cryptic, I hope I'm not, but I guess that's the practice that presents itself to me, and frankly always has, from the time I was a little kid.
I love it. I love the one thing you said about it's maybe even just because I was yearning for it that it happens. And that's, I don't know, that struck me. I love it. Tanya, we're going to close this party with you. Tell us a little bit about the practice that you want to share when everything is just feeling impossible. Oh, let me unmute you first, though. Oh, can you unmute you? There we go.
I'm an old-fashioned girl. I cry. I sit, I find a space, and I just let the emotions and the tears just come on out, because it has to be released somehow, right? The anxiety, oh my goodness, what's going on? This done happened, this done happened. And I take myself into a quiet space. I release, I cry. And it doesn't last long, 2, 3 minutes. You done got that out. And then I think of, well, this done already happened. Now, what can I do to make it a better situation than it was before? Because you cannot go back in time. We don't have any time machines. And if y'all do, let me borrow it. So, you have to, I have to move forward and think forward. What can I do to remedy the issue that's going on right now? But that is my process. And then I get a good old fashioned piece of paper and write a poem about how stupid, dumb fuck it is. Oops. But the paper paper and pen eventually comes into the play. But initially, that cry, that solution or solutions that I come up with, and then I write. Yeah.
I love it. You guys, Tanya, I went to Tanya about this book and we started dreaming up the cover. And I don't have the visual like a lot of people do, especially designers do in their head. I'm just like, I need stars and a moon and I love the sunrise and I just go. Like, just do this book for me, okay? And so this beautiful, beautiful moon in the night sky. And y'all, if you open up the book and you look at the whole thing together, you're gonna see this ombre of night to sunrise, which is like, again, I have this idea, but I don't know what that looks like. And Tanya, you were brilliant in making that come to life for this book. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Y'all just don't know. She hit me up on Facebook, Messenger. I was like, is this real? And it's such an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this fabulous project and many projects to come. I'm very honored. Thank you so much.
Oh my
And,
goodness, my pleasure.
yeah. And with that, you all, I do book covers. And if you need any more information about a book cover design or anything like that, you definitely can look at my work on compassionate-designs.com and check me out. And if you like what you see, hit me up. I appreciate that.
Perfect segue to my last thank you to all of you. Pam, Atlantis, Miss Cayenne, Tanya, thank you so much for what you do in the world. And thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you can drop down into the show notes because I have all of these powerful women hooked up with their websites. So yes, please go explore Tanya's design website and see what she's up to. If something that one of the poets said today gave you the goosebumps or you're resonating, or you have a question, or you just want to continue the conversation, this is so much more than a book. This is a generous, loving community where you can actually come and connect and go the next step with our author, poet, healer, amazing people. Where do you get to do that in most other books? You don't. And so it's what I love about the community the most is they're there for you. So drop on down into the notes, click on those websites, check out everything that they have to offer because it's amazing and a lot. And of course, you're invited to the book launch party, you guys. That's on January 12th in the new year. We're going to have all of the authors of 100 Poems and Possibilities for Healing there celebrating the book. You can come join us on the Zoom. The info is below. And what else? I think if you're listening to this after that date or anytime around there, the book is ready on Amazon by then. So that means you just got to hop over and grab your copy. Lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.
Bye.